We have Badger commit Daniel Freitag joining the show, coming off recent back-to-back 40-point performances. He has one of the best teams in the state of Minnesota. Daniel, welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, to start, as I just mentioned to you off camera, but you've had some really cool clips on Instagram, and what I want to discuss is obviously you had the self alley-oop to yourself. We'll get into that, but what I thought was really cool was there's a clip where in crunch time you had a teammate. It was a 1-point game, big game with a minute left, and one of your teammates airballed a three, and there were multiple starters out, but this teammate airballed a three, and then the very next possession, like 10, 15 seconds later, in a game that you ultimately finished with 42 points in, you drive to the hoop, and instead of forcing something or putting up a shot on yourself, you kick to that same teammate and he hits the huge shot in crunch time, drains it nothing but net. But I look at that and I say, that's a point guard. That's a leader right there. So my question to you is, Daniel, what does leadership to you at the point guard spot mean, and how do you lead? Do you lead by example? Are you a vocal guy? What's your leadership style?
I believe I lead by example a lot in practice and kind of off of the court. Or actually outside of the game, rather, whether that's showing up early or leaving the court late, kind of showing what I do to kind of give myself credibility to actually lead them. So that's by example. And then I think I'm very vocal on the court, kind of telling guys what to do or if they have a question, answering it. But yeah, that's kind of the approach I've taken.
Okay. And then obviously the other clip that probably more people have seen is the self alley-oop. For me, this seems like a scene straight out of like a movie, or there's a Seinfeld clip, and you're probably too young. I mean, I'm too young to watch Seinfeld, but if you ever watch Seinfeld, I believe his name was Paul O'Neill for the Yankees, and Kramer comes in and he's like, hey, I got this kid in the hospital. I promise that you'll hit 2 home runs for him in this game. Paul Neal's like, why'd you do that? But it's somewhat similar in the sense where you had an interview before the game. You're like, who asked you, hey, have you ever done a self alley-oop off the backboard in the middle of a game? And you're like, no, I haven't, but I got you. And sure enough, you did it. And my question to you is, like, how did you do that? Were you hunting it? Did it come naturally to you? Like, was it instinctive, or were you just hunting it throughout that game? How did that happen? How did you actually execute that in a game to pull off one of the best dunks you'll see in high school basketball ever?
Yeah. So Strictly B-Ball, they make videos for Minnesota sports, but they interviewed me before the game, asked me if I've ever done it before. And I told them no, because I kind of have never. I've tried and I've failed before, but never in a game, never with anyone watching. And then at halftime, I kept trying to get to my my pull-up going left, and I kept missing. So in that play, I'm going to my left near the free throw line, and I only pump fake because all halftime I couldn't hit that shot. And
Sure.
I don't know why, but the backboard just seemed so large. And so I was like, perfect opportunity. I threw it off. And then by the time I was already in the air, the big jumped, but it was like, if I'm already in the air, what are you going to do? So I just threw it down.
Yeah. No, that was sick, man. That was awesome. And for me, that's like the classic, like, you look at like your average varsity player, and then you compare like what a D1 player is. That's like a Division I basketball player out there. Like that's just some next level stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to see that athleticism at Wisconsin. And going to your game a little bit, is there anything in your game that you have? Like obviously you got the highlight reel dunks, but is there anything in your game that you have that you think perhaps this Wisconsin team doesn't have right now that you could bring to the table?
That they don't have?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think somebody has something that I have everywhere, whether the athleticism with AJ or like kind of passing with Chucky. But I think once you mix in all of those different things, it'll be exciting for people to watch next year when I arrive.
So you mix in everything, and that's Daniel Freitag right there.
In the most humble way possible.
No, I feel you, man. So, well, what is something perhaps underrated in your game that might surprise Badger fans next season?
I think next year my defense will shine through. I know right now there might be some, like, I don't want to say talk that it's bad, but there's definitely not as much talk that it's good that I think will come next year. I think once I'm matched up against guys my size, opposed to like having to just guard whoever their best player is, whether they're a center or whatever, I'll
Yeah.
kind of be able to emphasize my defense.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about your defense when you're throwing self lobs off the backboard and yamming on dudes. So, I mean, of course, that's what's going to be talked about. But yeah, I mean, another thing is Wisconsin, and for me, I've enjoyed these point guards' recent history at Wisconsin, but they've been on the smaller side. And I seen your height listed at 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". Daniel, set the record straight. What is your real height?
I went to the doctor and I'm 6'2.5" with no shoes. So I think I'm 6'3" with shoes.
Oh, no doubt. 6'2.5" at the doctor is 6'3". No doubt.
Yeah.
So, and you'll probably be listed at 6'4" next year. So, okay, that's what we like to hear. I like lengthy point guards and some of the stuff you bring to the table. Devin Harris, who I think, played at Wisconsin when you weren't even born, but we haven't seen a guy dunking like you are since Devin Harris, or a lengthy point guard to my knowledge. Trayvon Jackson you had in there, but I'm excited to see that length and athleticism. I think that's something that we haven't seen in a long time at Wisconsin at the point guard spot. But is there anything that you're focusing on in your game right now to make sure that your game translates right away and that you're ready to contribute right away as a freshman next season?
I mean, my number one focus right now is my jump shot. I know that it's been inconsistent at times, so definitely my number one. But above that, kind of just making sure I'm continuing to play the right way. Trying to make the right play every single time. I know it can kind of get easy if, you're up 20 to just start trying to chase a number like 40 points or 50 points, but trying to emphasize making the right play to make sure I can kind of play from day one next year.
Sure, no doubt. And obviously you're only a senior in high school, but how much emphasis do you place on recovery, stretching, and diet at this point in time?
That's crazy you asked that. So as my computer was charging, I was actually stretching just now.
Oh, good for you, man.
I place a big emphasis on it. I have a YouTube channel that I posted what I do for recovery, and there's also a day in the life in there where it also emphasizes recovery. But I'm big on it. I go to a Hypercharge. It's a clinic in Maple Grove here, but I do that I think 4 times a week, and I'm constantly icing, stretching, things of that nature. So that's a great question. I wanted to answer that.
Good deal. Wait, so is Hypercharge at like a cryotherapy, like biohacking place, or?
So it's hard for me to explain, but they use like infrared beds and like laser therapy, things of that nature.
Okay, good deal. And talking about this Wisconsin team, obviously they're on a bit of a rough patch. They lost 5 of their last 6. Do you think they can get back on track and get to where they were earlier in the season?
Absolutely. I've only been to 1 game, so I haven't really gotten to see the vibes in the locker room and at practice and things like that. But I have all the confidence they'll turn it around.
All right, and what do you think the ceiling is on this team?
I don't think there is one. I think when I was watching them at their best at the beginning of the year, I was just blown away. I think if we can get back to that, I think we can win it all.
Good deal. And then, what's your relationship like with the guys on the roster right now?
It's great. I went up there in the summer a ton, and I was constantly, I don't want to say constantly, but kind of hanging out with Gus Yalden, AJ Storr. We would play, like he played 2v2 with me and my teammates.
Oh, cool.
I'm constantly, huh?
I just said cool.
Yeah. And so I'm playing with AJ. I'm texting Gus often. Me and John have conversations often. I was kind of picking Chucky's brain over the summer, so it's great.
Yeah, and talking about Chucky, was that important for you to have a veteran point guard who can perhaps be a mentor for you and kind of show you the ropes as you're a freshman? Is that important to have a Chucky Hepburn on the roster?
Absolutely. When I came into high school, I didn't really have somebody to ask questions to, and so I was kind of labeled like annoying for asking everyone questions. And so being able to have a guy like Chucky that'll show me the ropes right out the gate will be awesome.
Oh, no doubt. So, that's all the questions I got for you. I'm just got one more round. It's a rapid fire round. So I'll ask you a bunch of questions, just answer in a timely fashion. You ready?
Smooth.
Awesome. Who's your favorite basketball player of all time?
Kobe Bryant.
Who is the best basketball player in the world right now?
Oh, man. Jokic, I guess.
I agree. I agree. Do you have any hidden talents?
I could juggle.
Okay, very cool. Dogs or cats?
Cats. I have a cat.
Okay, favorite food?
Mangoes.
What's your favorite workout?
I like push-ups personally.
Okay, least favorite workout?
Uh, lunges.
Bulgarian split squats aren't your thing?
Nah. I hate
Favorite holiday?
Christmas for sure.
Good deal. Toughest player you've ever had to guard?
Tyus Jones.
And then I'll say, who's the toughest defender you've ever had on you?
Probably my head coach right now, Harry Sony.
Okay, was he a former player, obviously?
Yeah.
Okay.
He played in Augsburg here.
All right, good deal. Favorite movie?
Maze Runner.
MJ or LeBron?
LeBron.
It's too bad. And then my last question for you is, and I probably know this one, but favorite sport outside of basketball?
It's football.
Yeah, that was kind of an easy one. But yeah, Daniel, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And dude, looking forward to staying connected along the way. And best of luck the rest of the season. And yeah, best of luck at Wisconsin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.